Welcome to Real Talk, Real Growth. I'm your host, Linda Ostovitz. You know me as direct and to the point, real talk, and always looking for ways we can connect and help each other prosper. Real growth. Join me each month as I have meaningful, practical discussions with guests who are on the cutting edge of business. We'll talk and you'll grow. This is Real Talk, Real Growth. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk, Real Growth. I'm Linda Ostovitz, and I'm glad you've all decided to join us today for our podcast. Today, my guest, and I'm thrilled to have her, is Dr. Minah Woo. Minah is the Vice President of Workforce, Innovation, and Strategic Partnerships at Howard Community College. And as my listeners know, Minah, I don't invite anybody to be on this podcast who I don't respect and think is really a powerhouse at what they do. And certainly you fit those categories. So thank you so much for joining me today for this podcast.
Thank you, Linda, for inviting me. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
So let's get started with what is workforce, innovation, and strategic partnership that you run at Howard Community College?
That's a great question. I started at the college about 25 years ago, and I started in English as a second language. I was able to move my way up to what I am doing right now. And when the new president came in about 4 years ago, she said, I really have a heart for workforce and I want our college to do more. So when I had the pleasure of being able to report directly to her, she created a position. At that time, I was an associate vice president of workforce development and continuing education. And when I was able to report directly to the president, I had the pleasure of actually drafting my own title. And I find myself very lucky because how often do you get to say, hey, this is what I like to have as my title, and this is what I like my job to be? So I was very lucky to be able to really select the title as well as detail out my job description. So what I wanted was to be hyper focused on workforce development, and I knew that we really couldn't be a leader in that space unless you had innovation and partnerships. So that's how I got to the title of workforce development, innovation, and strategic partnerships. So how does that translate to what I do every day at the college? I have the pleasure of working with businesses to really talk about talent pipeline and workforce solutions. I have the opportunity to work with our students to say, how do we get into career path of your dreams and really look at what we can do in that space. I get to work with partners to be able to say, how do we bring innovation into this space? I know that you can go get your education and get a job, but how can we really put a little bit of interesting perspective into that? And we were able to do a lot of things in creating short-term certifications as well as registered apprenticeships to meet the challenge and create some innovation.
That was a whole lot you just said there, madam. And what I want to say is, what a testament to you, Minah, and your abilities and capabilities and everything else to be told. You get to select your title and you get to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. That is incredible to me. And I'm thrilled that's the way this all happened. So you are obviously a force to be reckoned with, to be an imposter, to be able to do that. And I'm glad that you're here. You know, I'm a Howard County resident. I grew up in Howard County. So Howard Community College, actually, I don't believe was open when I went to my community college, which was Catonsville, but it's mine now. And so anyway, I'm very pleased and proud to have you in the position that you're in. So you talked about a whole lot of different things there. So let's kind of work with them a little bit. As you know, I'm very engaged in the county with a lot of businesses and so forth. And one of the things I hear about on a fairly regular basis is maybe I, as a business person, have a particular skill set. I'm having trouble finding help, keeping good help, cultivating help, teaching help. And I know that under your leadership, college has made tremendous strides in that area. So, could you talk a little bit about how you, in your position and the individuals that you supervise, actually meet the need of an employer who says, I need some skill set, I need a workforce that isn't readily available to me?
Oh, we can go in so many different directions with that.
Mhm. Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't know that community colleges are an asset to not only the students in the community, but the businesses that are in the community. So I'm so glad that you pointed that out. As a business in Howard County, there are several things you can do to engage the college. The easiest, the lowest hanging fruit is looking at our graduates coming out of short term certification as well as a full associate's degree to say, hey, we love to engage with people who are graduating out of such a degree program. So that's the lowest hanging fruit. And to help our businesses meet our students, twice a year we host job fairs. And we bring businesses in. It's always a sellout. We just hosted one early this month and had over 600 community and students come through and had over 100 businesses have tables at that event. So that's the easiest, right? And then if you want to get in a little bit further, you could offer internships to our students and meet them while they're in the classes. For businesses who want to help us shape the curriculum, they can get involved as an advisory partner. We have advisory committees that advise on the curriculum for our programs so they can get engaged that way. And the important thing there is that when they get involved at that level, we can really service our business community by providing up to date and relevant curriculum. So we can do that. Another thing they can do is really host a registered apprenticeship, host a registered apprentice in their company. So we have several apprenticeships that we host with our business partners. So businesses like AT&T and their cyber register apprenticeship, as well as our healthcare and education. And when they do that, they actually hire the students as their employees. They are learning while they're earning. So they are going to school while they're still working with you. And when they finish, they stay with you and become employees with you. A great thing about that is you get to actually cultivate the employee and the people that you're going to hire. They learn about the mission and vision of your organization, and they don't pick up any of the bad skills that they might have from other places. And the apprentices are quite loyal to the employer that has invested in them. So the retention rate for national registered apprentices are like 94%. They stay with the employer that have invested in them after they complete the program.
Wow, what a good investment. And like you say, you don't have to break somebody else's bad habits when that's the case. So, how do you distinguish, Mina, an apprenticeship from an internship?
Oh, great question. Yes. A lot of people, when they think of bringing students in as employees, they think of internship, but it's very different. Both are valuable, but they have different outcomes, right? An intern would stay with you maybe for a month or summer or semester, and you work with them and you develop them by giving them work experiences. But there's no commitment from either side. Like the employer is not saying, I'm going to hire you as full time. And the intern is not saying, I'm going to stay with you after I graduate. It's a great for the employer to provide a glimpse into this is what your profession will look like, give them valuable experience, and then hopefully they will stay with you. An apprenticeship is employment from day one. So they become your employee and they stay with you going through school and they stay with you afterwards as well. And because the state of Maryland and the governor right now is committed to growing registered apprenticeship, there's a lot of incentives for businesses to get involved. There are incentive funding that will reimburse you $3,000. Our county, Howard County Executive has also invested, and there's a reimbursement up to $5,000 per every apprentice that you hire. And there are tax incentives as well. So, is there thinking about having a creative way to bring their future workforce in? This is a really good time to try that out.
That sounds like such a win-win situation to have an apprenticeship scenario. And you talk about the retention rate being so good as well. So, Mina, can you give us some idea of how many apprentices you place, if that's the right terminology, in whatever period of time makes sense for you to deliver that information?
Sure. So, depending on the occupation, the apprenticeship could range from 1 to 4 years. Most of our apprenticeships are 2 to 3 years in length. And I believe we have over 100 apprentices working full time and going to school part time right now. Our largest employer is AT&T, and the great thing about that apprenticeship is that our partner is AT&T government sector. So our apprentices not only get hired, they go through a security clearance process with AT&T, and by the end, they not only have their certifications, but their top secret security clearance along with all of their other credentials. And that's amazing because we, being here close to DC, have a lot of contractors who are working and looking to recruit these people with security clearances. And instead of fighting for a small pot of people who already have their clearances, you can utilize registered apprenticeship, use that time they're waiting to get their security clearance to come through and educate them and provide them skills.
Wow, what a fabulous, fabulous program to be able to accomplish all that as a result of the relationship with the Howard Community College. That's incredible. That's really incredible. One of the other things that we hear about, and again, from businesses on the chair of the Small Business Committee of the Chamber of Commerce and do a lot of programming for small businesses and so forth. And the other thing that we hear about is a shrinking workforce, which probably is a term of art. People throw it around, maybe without knowing what it means. As an educator and as the person in charge of this area of the college, what is a shrinking workforce? Do we have one? And if we do, what do we do about it?
Yeah, and we definitely do have a shrinking workforce. It's very interesting because we just had this conversation this week at a forum that I was at, talking to other educators. And the way we say it is a decline in enrollment. So in higher education, what we do is we look at the landscape and predict what kind of enrollment we're going to have. And the number one indicator is how big is our graduating class in our local public high school, right? And as a nation, we're looking at this thing called enrollment cliff. And they're predicting that within the next 5 or 6 years, there's going to be a huge decrease in the number of people who are going to be in the pipeline to come into higher education. And what does that mean? Well, if our higher education will see decrease in enrollment, that means that our workforce who are waiting for our students to come through will see a decrease in their workforce as well. So, yes, that is absolutely true. It's not that they weren't dreaming when they are thinking or feeling this shrinkage going on. It is actually happening. I think it's also what they're also feeling is that growing number of people who are going to be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. And the boomer generation, the baby boomers are going to be retiring soon. And there's not people lined up to really fill in that workforce. So we're looking at several things that are happening all at the same time. This is going to make it important for employers to think about the kind of workplace they have. Look at the culture of their workplace to say, oh, it's going to be easier for us to retain our folks than recruit new people. When we had so many people vying for the same number of jobs, then it was easy to say, you don't like us anymore? Okay, go. Because we have plenty of people that we can attract. When the number of people that they can attract is not that plentiful, then the best way for you to deal with your workforce is to say, we're going to keep the people we have. And really, I encourage employers to look at what are the things that people find valuable. And you're going to see that more and more younger people are going to be saying work life balance using technology. And another thing is, do they feel like they can grow it with the organization? If they feel that they can grow professionally, they are more likely to stay within the organization. And another thing is, do they feel like they're doing something worth value? And you're going to see that these millennials, especially Gen Zs and Gen Alphas who are following suit, they're going to be more mission focused than wealth focused. Me as a Generation X, we were like, all right, whoever gives me the most amount of money, we will work hard for you and we can go. And we tend to separate out our personal life from work, and we don't have to enjoy work as much. We can do it. And the younger generation are saying, no, I don't want that separation. I want to really enjoy work and do things that I really believe in. So, building that into your workforce is going to be important. And the final thing I want to say here is thinking about how you're using technology. We're not going to have enough people to replace one person with another person, right? So, how do we maximize technology in order to accomplish the same goals and do it with maybe a smaller group of folks? There are fears that AI will replace jobs. And I'm saying, yes, there may be fears, but if we use AI right, then we can really enrich jobs and maybe do more with the same number of people we have because we're having this workforce shrinkage or not enough people in the workforce.
Well, again, this is a lot. So when you talk about the shift in values of those who are entering the workforce, you understand that there are employers out there of all generations, and there's a lot of employers who don't share that. Gee, I need you to love your job, and there's a work life balance. There are a whole lot of us out there who grew up in business in a different generation, and that was not the priority. How do you prepare these students for the fact that what they want as their dream job, it may exist, but it may not exist as broadly out in the real world as what they think it will or hope it will? So, how do you manage expectations and have them be reasonable given the realities of the business world out there?
Yes. So the ideal versus reality, right?
You said it better than I did. Yes.
There has to be a balance. Not every single job is going to be able to hit all of those things that the younger generation will value. But there are certainly things that you can look at and see how you could introduce some of those things. Another area that I oversee at the college is called Training and Development Solutions. And what they do is they provide training and workshops for businesses, for employees, for managers, and so on. One of their most popular courses is managing through different generations. And that's the thing. It's not a stereotype. I'm not saying all Gen X's think the same way, all millennials think the same way, but there are certain traits that these different generations have, and there are certain things that they value more. And most important thing is that you try to understand each other, right? You seek to understand before trying to be understood. And if you try to bring that into the culture and say, you know what, we are very different in generation, we value different things, we may even speak differently, But if we try to understand where we are coming from and we can communicate with each other, then you form a relationship. And when you form that kind of a relationship, then people are going to work with you. It's not about how many check boxes can you check off of the stuff I value, but if they feel valued and they feel like there is communication and there's that relationship, then the employees will stay with you. And that's where we get meaning. I think we as human beings find meaning in life through relationships.
Totally agree. And I will just say in my 45 years of practicing as an attorney and, building a business and that kind of thing, I didn't know it right away. I certainly didn't. But relationships are everything because if people don't trust each other and cannot communicate with each other, they're not going to do business with each other when they have a choice of somebody they do trust or feel more comfortable with. So,
Yes,
so true. So true.
absolutely. And there's actually research that says that if an employee has a meaningful relationship with at least three other people that they work with, then they will stay in that position, even if they hate their job. So if they like the people they work with, then they will more likely stay with you than if you had a job that you loved and did not like anybody that you worked with.
Wow. And is that also true, Mina, by the way, of remote workers? I'm just thinking about now, people go to work and they spend 8 hours a day with their coworkers. That's not totally true anymore with all the remote work.
It's true. So it's there's some fascinating research coming out on remote work and people who like remote work. When the pandemic happened, everybody had to go remote and we thought that was going to be like the end of the world. And we managed through that. And what we learned is that the people who were already established in their profession and in their company, they loved remote work. And young professionals who want to grow in that profession, they actually did not like it as much. And while young folks say we like remote work, they found that they didn't get that connection. I think what people want now is stability and ability to do hybrid work because that relationship is important. They're saying that the younger generation, they're brand new to looking for in office work, even if it's a couple days out of the week, so that they could make those connections. But they also found that the people who are 100% remote work often get passed up for promotions because people who actually come into the office get to create these relationships with other employers and their supervisors, and they are provided more opportunities. So I think doing a little bit of both is good. There are companies that still remain 100% remote work. And there are people who are writing on that and they talk about how can we create collaboration and teamwork even in this remote environment. And there's a lot of research that are coming out on how we do that. There's actually a book that speaks on how you can actually do these different things to make sure that you're creating teamwork, collaboration, and these relationships, even in the remote work environment. Because, like you, Linda said, relationship is so important.
Hmm. Wow. I would like to go back for a minute to the subject of technology. And we hear from various places that AI is going to replace us and AI is going to be the end of us. And your perspective on it is certainly different. I guess if used properly, if understood, if integrated, and maybe I would think even might increase longevity of some people in the workforce. So, when you talk about AI being beneficial to those who are trying to maintain a workforce, in what ways are you imagining that occurring?
So I believe that AI can be a solution but I think it needs to be adopted in a smart way. You should not blindly go in saying AI is going to solve all of our problems because it will not. And our AI implementation and development must be human centric. It must have human as the center of its design, as well as human beings being part of the operation. When you're talking about AI implementation and AI tools, it is just that. It's a tool, not a replacement. So, how can AI be used? I think AI is best used when you're trying to synthesize a lot of information. I think AI is used when you're doing a lot of monotonous things or repetitive things that you're doing over and over again. And it could be a solution for things that help you come to a good decision. It's not going to be the solution to provide the decision. I've also seen AI being used in different occupations to create this space so that the person that is not doing a repetitive thing over and over again, it takes AI maybe seconds or minutes to do the same thing that a human being might have done for an hour. And when that time that it was saved, the human being can do things that are more human. So in healthcare, I've seen it where they rely on AI to do some of the things that humans used to do. And the time that was freed up, now they're using to spend more time with patients and have more of a conversation with the patients without doing all of that tedious things that they had to do before. So there are ways we can use it smartly and provide a value versus taking away jobs. I've also heard somebody say AI won't replace you. AI won't take away jobs, but AI will replace those people who don't use AI. So people who use AI are the ones who will replace people who may not use AI at all. So I encourage everybody to learn what kind of tools are out there and play around with it and see how it can be used. Again, think about it as not as a replacement, but as an enhancer of what you do.
That's such a good point because I think there's a fear factor when people talk about AI. I'm afraid of it, so I'm not even going to investigate it and see how it might be useful to my employees or my business. So, your advice to play with it, I hope everybody hears that. Don't be afraid of it. Give it a roll. We had also talked in the past, Mina, about the fact that we have a lot of people of retirement age, and you talk about the baby boomers who have retired, are in the process of retiring, let's just say. How does the fact that they are retiring or considering retiring affecting workforce development and employers' ability to hire employees?
Mhm. So I like to say we are blessed in this region to have a lot of people who are highly educated and who are professionals. In the old days, when you think of retirement, you go, okay, I'm going to retire and now I'm going to move to Florida, sit by the beach and drink my pina colada. And that was the image of retirement. Like you goes off and it's like vacation. You've earned this lifelong vacation, right? And yes, that might be good for 6 months to a year. I see a lot of people who retire and they're traveling the world and they're enjoying life. But we are living in a place where people are living longer. People are expected to live to 100 years old. And if you retire at 55 or even at 65, that's a lot of life left, right? And also, people are so healthy and they have so much life in them. So, what I encourage is for people to think of it as not a retirement from work altogether, but retirement from that phase of their life. And then really think about what do you want to do next. So the retirement planning it looks a little different when you look at it from that lens. It's not how do I retire, enjoy life, and then fund myself, but how do I retire and what is it that I'm looking to do next? And it could be community service, it could be giving back as mentor, or it could be, you know what? I've always wanted to try this other thing. And you may want to get retrained or learn a new skill or go back to school and learn, get another degree, or whatever it might be to get you to enjoy the next phase of your life and do things that you've never done before. So I want to encourage folks to say, yeah, think about how you give back. It might be you're giving back professionally in a different way and you're working, but instead of having it be 9 to 5, you get to set your own schedule and choose the things you want to work on, or it might be giving back. But there's so much you can do, and the community will only benefit with you being engaged.
There's another part of the population I'd like to focus on a little bit right now, and that is individuals with disabilities. And you talk about AI, you talk about technology and the impact that they have on workforce development and retention. How is AI, how is advancing technology helping that population get into and or stay in the workforce?
Oh, I love that. That's a population that is near and dear to my heart. And that's a group I volunteered with for, I think, all throughout my teenage and college years because it's a population that I fell in love with. And technology is going to make it easier for them to get into the workforce. There are great groups like Autism Society of Maryland that is doing a lot of great work in that space to say, how do we really help them get into the workforce? It does take some creativity. You're not going to say, hey, here's this one job, and I'm going to uh, you recruit from this other population. It doesn't work that way. You have to really look at the accommodations that are out there and the technology enable accommodations that are readily accessible, but also looking at how do I maybe divide up these jobs to provide an opportunity for these individuals with different abilities. We talked about the workforce shrinkage, right? And we said there are people who are available to work are going to be far less in the future. And what I say is because the population is shrinking and we have less people who are in the workforce pipeline, we have to look at areas we have not looked at in the past for this workforce. That population is the population with different abilities. And actually, the college has a program where we're doing workforce development for that population. We combine it with externships. So they're actually getting the real world work experience. They get to work in a location for about a month to get that. So they actually understand how it is like working in that occupation. But also, the employer gets to try them out and go, all right, it wasn't that bad. It's not really a lot of accommodation. And by the way, having them in the workforce creates a lot of culture of care and belonging, and they see the upside of having a diverse workforce that way. So that's been really good. And we've had students who come out of that program get full-time employment. They actually have a professional reference because the externship side and the supervisor at that location is now able to provide recommendations. They have work experience. There are ways they may need a little bit more accommodation to get to that place, but there are ways to really tap into that workforce. Another group that we did talk about, but I think we should be looking at, given that we need to look at untapped workforce, is returning citizens. I think there's a lot we can do with returning citizens to help them be able to make a living for themselves, have meaningful jobs, and contribute to the community.
So when you talk about returning citizens, who are you talking about?
People coming out of the incarceration. So those folks who are coming out or may have been just justice involved, right? They may have had a record but not have served time. They have a harder time finding employment. And if we can provide pathways for them to find employment, then I think they could be another excellent source of talent.
So a term that was probably more prevalent when I was in school than right now was the trades. And in my day when that was discussed, that meant plumbers, electricians, people who use their hands to do a particular job. What is the status of the demand for and workforce of tradespeople?
Oh, Linda, you are so good at picking up all the important topics that are faced in the community. Yeah, there is a severe shortage of workforce in the trade. For a very long time, we in America said the only pathway for people coming out of high school is to get a 4-year degree, get a white collar job, and you will be set for life. So we had more and more people going to colleges and universities, which is a great thing, right? I'm in higher education. I think that's a wonderful thing. What we sort of missed there was that it wasn't a one size fits all solution. Yes, going to college, getting a degree, getting professional jobs, that that's all very important and is needed in the community. But what's equally needed in the community are the plumbers, the electricians, the auto mechanics, all these people who make the world go round too. And we've missed out on about 2 decades of young people looking to go into the trades because we've ripped out vocational education from so many of our high schools and we downgraded trades as something less than. So right now, I think the statistic is that for every 5 people who will be retiring the next 5 to 10 years, there's only two in the funnel to replace them. And I always talk about these jobs are not going to be replaced by AI. You're still going to have people coming in to wire your electricity and do the plumbing and do the HVACs. So you do need physical people to replace those 5 people going out on retirement. So at Howard Community College, we are actually under construction to build out a skilled trade center. It's going to be Workforce Development Skilled Trade Center. We are going to be hosting welding, automotive, electrical, HVAC, plumbing. We're doing some green technology there as well. We also have programs in manufacturing, CNC machining, automation in manufacturing, and additive manufacturing. So we're going to be opening in the fall this year, and we're going to host probably over 200 students coming in filling those seats so that we can fill the pipeline for the skilled trades as well. Interestingly, the skilled traits of yesterday are not the skilled traits of tomorrow. A lot of people think, oh, it's hard work, it's getting dirty, and it's doing all of these things. Yes, it may still be that, but skilled traits uses a lot of technology now. There is automation, there is technology, there is AI in even those skilled trade jobs. So in our skilled trade center, we're going to have cybersecurity and AI for skilled trades professionals as well because they're going to be using that technology.
I'm glad you introduced this subject that way because I was going to ask you about the new center opening, but I had no idea that it was a skilled trades center as you've described it. Do high schools still teach VOTech?
Votech, I believe in Howard County, and I might be wrong. It was sometime in the 80s where Votech actually closed and they rebranded that center to be Applied Research Lab. Makes it sound so much more fancy, right?
Yes.
And they have reintroduced some of that. So they do have automotive. They do start HVAC and electrical apprenticeships. And actually, as a senior, you can be an apprentice in those two occupations. And then you come to HCC and you finish that out and become a full on journeyman. So, yes, they have started reintroducing that in high schools as well.
I would think that would be a great feeder for somebody to have that exposure in high school and then move into the community college experience with what you have to offer. You are absolutely amazing. I am so thrilled that we have this opportunity to talk to each other this way. Now, you do a huge job. Tell me who assists you with carrying out all these great things that you do, Mina?
Oh, you know what? I don't do the work, right? It's the team behind me that really does the work. I have to thank the Workforce Career and Community Education Division. We have about 60 staff members who work in this division. And then we have all these faculty members who are industry experts who come and teach with us. So I have to thank our faculty members doing that. And then the overall college, we work as an organization and as an institution. We believe that we bring value to our community. We serve students from 6 years old to infinity. We don't have a top end of our age bracket. I think the oldest student I've met was like 94 years old in our personal enrichment course. So when I say we are Howard Community College, we are your community college, there is something here for everyone. And our division, as well as everybody at the college, is so focused in supporting that. And it's not me, if it's the whole team and the whole college behind me.
And she's also humble. Wow, look at that. But I'm sure if those 65 people, were on this call with us, they would thank you for your leadership in terms of what you all are able to accomplish. I thank you so much for agreeing to join me today. It's everything you say is just so relevant if you live in this life about students and workforce and the engagement and the relationships that are required for all of us to get through every day. So thank you so much for being with us. I so appreciate it.
Thank you, Linda, for the opportunity to share this, what we do at the college. Thank you for providing this space for this conversation, and especially for your leadership in the community that we all live and benefit from.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you soon. People like Mina, people like me are out and about a lot. I think we actually met when we were both on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. So we'll look forward to seeing you soon. And again, many thanks.
Thank you so much.
Please be sure to like and to subscribe to Real Talk, Real Growth, wherever podcasts are found. Join me each month as we discuss a new topic of interest. We'll talk and you'll grow.